My name is Lily. I am 30 years old. When I met Jason, I was 24. He worked at a small bookstore near my office. I went there one rainy afternoon to buy a gift for my friend. I couldn't find what I wanted, so I asked for help. Jason came over with a warm smile. His voice was soft and his eyes were kind. He helped me choose a book. I didn't want to leave. After that day, I went to the bookstore more often. Sometimes I bought something. Sometimes I just walked around. Jason always noticed me. He said hello and smiled. One day he said, "Do you want to get coffee sometime?" I said yes right away. We met at a quiet cafe down the street. We talked for hours. He told me about his dream to become a writer. I told him I wanted to open a flower shop one day. He said I had a peaceful voice and kind eyes. I felt special. I hadn't felt that way in a long time. We started dating soon after. Every day he sent me sweet messages. Every night we talked on the phone. He asked about my day. He listened when I spoke. I felt lucky. I thought I had found someone who really cared. But slowly things started to change. At first the changes were small. He stopped texting me in the morning. He didn't call every night. He said he was busy writing. I believed him. I wanted to support his dream. Then he forgot our 2-month anniversary. He said, "Sorry, I was tired." I forgave him. I thought, it's just a date. No big deal. A few weeks later, we made plans to go to a movie. I waited outside the cinema for 1 hour. He didn't show up. When I called, he didn't answer. The next day he said, "I fell asleep." Again, I forgave him. I always forgave him. Even when he missed my birthday. Even when he forgot to call for days. Even when he canceled dinner with my parents. I told my friends. They said, "Lily, this is not love." But I said, "He's just stressed. He'll be better soon." But deep down I knew the truth. I felt alone even when I was with him. I was the one trying. I was the one waiting, texting, caring. He didn't try at all. So I stayed. I told myself, maybe I'm asking for too much. I didn't want to lose him. I thought if I just loved him more, he would change. One night he called and said he was sick. He said he didn't want to be alone. I cooked his favorite pasta and went to his apartment. I knocked on the door. There was a pause. Then he opened it. His face looked surprised. Behind him I saw a woman sitting on the couch. She was holding a glass of wine. She looked at me and smiled. Jason said, "This is Emily. She's a friend." His voice was calm. Too calm. I stood there holding the food. My hands were shaking. I looked at him. I looked at her. Then I gave him the food and walked away. I didn't say a word. That night I cried until morning. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. My heart felt broken. But even after that, I didn't walk away. The next day I texted him. "Can we talk?" He replied, "Talk about what?" "About us." "There's nothing to talk about." I stared at his message. My eyes filled with tears. But still I texted, "I miss you." He didn't answer. So I waited. 1 week passed. Then a whole month. Nothing from him. I thought about him every day. I wondered if he missed me. I checked my phone every hour. I listened to sad music and cried. But then something changed. One Sunday afternoon I sat in the park. I saw a couple laughing. They held hands. They looked happy. I watched them. I felt something strange inside me. Not jealousy. Not sadness. Just a deep, empty space. And a thought came into my mind. I never laughed like that with Jason. Not after the first month. I remembered all the times I waited outside in the cold. All the times I cried myself to sleep. All the times I said, "It's okay," when it wasn't. I thought about how I loved him more than I loved myself. And then I asked myself something I had never asked before. If I love him more than myself, who is loving me? That question stayed in my head all night. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. I looked tired. I looked older. I looked like someone who forgot how to smile. I touched my heart and whispered, "You don't deserve this." For the first time in 6 years, I started to think about letting go. The next morning, I made tea and sat at my kitchen table. The room was quiet. Too quiet. My phone was on the table. No new messages. No calls. I stared at it, waiting for something that never came. For 6 years I waited like this. Every day felt the same. I waited for his attention. I waited for his love. I waited for something that felt real. But that day something inside me started to change. I opened a notebook and began to write. I wrote, "He hurt me. I stayed. He ignored me. I stayed. He lied to me. I stayed." Then I wrote, "But now I want to choose myself." The words were simple, but they felt powerful. I had never written them before. I never even thought them before. That night I didn't cry. I didn't text him. I just sat in bed and read a book. My heart still hurt, but I felt a little stronger. The next few days were hard. I missed him. My body still waited for his messages. My eyes still looked at my phone too often. But I didn't reach out. Not once. One evening I met my friend Anna. We hadn't talked in weeks. She looked at me and said, "You look different." "I feel different," I replied. We sat in the cafe and talked. I told her everything. The lies. The silence. The other woman. My tears. My pain. My fear of being alone. Anna held my hand. She said, "You don't need him. You are more than enough." I cried. But not because I was sad. I cried because someone saw me. Someone cared. After that, I began to rebuild my life. I woke up early and went for walks. I cooked breakfast just for me. I cleaned my apartment and threw away things that reminded me of him. The scarf he left on my chair. The old concert ticket in my drawer. The pictures on my fridge. Each small thing I removed gave me more space to breathe. One day I found a letter I had written to him years ago. It said, "I love you more than I love myself." I sat on the floor holding that letter. My hands were cold. My chest felt tight. I whispered, "Never again." I tore the letter into pieces and watched it fall into the trash. That night I slept better than I had in months. Weeks passed. I didn't cry every day anymore. I started smiling again. I painted my nails. I bought a new dress. I even signed up for a flower arranging class. I met new people. Kind people. People who made me laugh. One day after class, my teacher said, "You have a calm energy. You'd be great with your own shop." My heart skipped a beat. That was my dream. Long ago I wanted to open a flower shop. But with Jason I forgot my dreams. I only dreamed about him. Now I wanted to dream for myself. I started saving money. I made a plan. I talked to a woman who owned a small flower shop nearby. She said, Come by next week. I'll show you how things work. I was excited, nervous too, but it felt good. I was building something new, something just for me. Then one rainy afternoon, something unexpected happened. I got a message from Jason. It had been 2 months since I last heard from him. The message said, "Hey, I miss you." I stared at it for a long time. My heart started to beat fast. My fingers wanted to type. My mind went back to all the good times. The first coffee, the walks, the kisses. But then I remembered the pain. The silence. The lies. The other woman. The empty birthdays. The cold nights. I read the message again. I miss you. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I was wrong. Just, I miss you. And I realized something very important. Missing someone is not the same as loving them. Wanting someone is not the same as caring for them. He missed the way I loved him. But he never loved me the way I deserved. So I did something I never thought I could do. I deleted the message. I didn't reply. I put my phone down, walked to the window, and watched the rain. For the first time in years, I felt peace. I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel weak. I felt strong. Because I finally chose myself. The days after I deleted Jason's message felt quiet. It was not easy. I still thought about him sometimes. I still wondered if he was thinking about me. But I didn't check my phone. I didn't hope for more messages. I stayed strong. Each morning I got out of bed and said one small thing to myself: today is mine. Those words gave me power. Even if I felt sad inside, I kept going. I returned to the flower shop every weekend. Mrs. Lee was kind. She taught me how to keep flowers fresh, how to make each bouquet look soft and beautiful. I loved the smell of the flowers, the colors, and the quiet in the shop. He gave me more hours. I worked on Saturdays and Sundays. Sometimes I even stayed late to help close. I felt proud. I felt useful. One afternoon, a customer came in crying. She was a young woman looking for flowers for her sister's wedding. She didn't know what to choose. Her hands were shaking. I asked her simple questions. What is your sister like? What colors does she love? She smiled a little and said, she loves sunflowers. Together we picked yellow and white flowers. When I handed her the bouquet, she hugged me. Thank you, she said. You made this day better. That moment stayed with me. I walked home that evening with a smile on my face. I wasn't just making flowers. I was helping people feel happy again. Then something unexpected happened. One Sunday morning, I checked my phone before work. There was a new message. Not from Jason. It was from Emily, the woman I saw that night in his apartment. I stared at her name for a while. My heart beat faster. Her message was short. Hi Lily. I'm sorry. I know it's strange, but can we talk? I didn't know how to feel. Why did she want to talk? What could she say now? I waited all day. After work I replied, Oi, just one talk. We met the next afternoon at a small cafe near the flower shop. She wore a simple dress and no makeup. She looked nervous. She sat down and said, I didn't know he was still seeing someone. I didn't say anything. She looked down. Jason told me he was single. I believed him. That night when you came, I didn't know who you were. I'm sorry. I nodded slowly. It wasn't your fault. Then she said, 2 weeks after that I left him. I saw your picture on his desk. I asked him, and he finally told the truth. My eyes filled with tears. I wiped them away quickly. "I'm not like that," she said. "I don't want to be the reason someone gets hurt." We sat in silence for a while. Then she looked at me and said something that surprised me. "You're stronger than me, Lily. You walked away. You chose peace." I smiled a little, but my chest still hurt. "I stayed too long. I forgot who I was." She nodded. "Me too." We didn't become friends. We didn't hug goodbye. But when she left, I felt lighter. There was no more anger in my heart. Just understanding. That evening I wrote in my notebook again. "I am not broken. I am healing." That became my new truth. The next few weeks were full of small changes. I started wearing clothes I loved. I tried new recipes. I called my sister more often. I visited old friends. Every time I laughed, it felt a little more real. One evening, as I closed the flower shop, Mrs. Lee said, "You have a gift, Lily. You make people feel seen." I looked at her and said, "No one ever said that to me before." She smiled. "It's true. You should think about starting your own shop someday." My heart jumped. That was my dream years ago, before Jason, before the pain, before I forgot who I was. That night I sat down and made a list. I called it my life. I wrote, "Learn to save money. Take more flower classes. Look for a small place to rent. Name my shop. Be happy alone." The last one was the most important. Because now, for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to choose me. I was choosing myself. After I wrote my life list, I felt more focused. Each morning I looked at the list. I said, one step at a time. I wasn't rushing anymore. I didn't need to do everything in one day. I just needed to keep moving forward. I started walking through small neighborhoods during my lunch breaks. I looked at the shops. I dreamed of one of them having my name on the window. Lily's Flowers. Simple. Beautiful. Sometimes I took pictures of empty spaces for rent. I didn't call yet, but I was getting ready. One Sunday I stayed late at the flower shop. I was making a soft pink arrangement for an old couple. They were celebrating 50 years together. The man said, "My wife loves peonies." I smiled and said, "I'll make it special." As I wrapped the bouquet, the woman touched my hand. "You have kind eyes, dear," she said, "and strong hands." No one had ever said that to me. On my walk home, I thought about her words. Kind eyes. Strong hands. I had always focused on what I lacked. Love, attention, care from others. But maybe I had more than I thought. That night, I took out my notebook again. I wrote, "I am not waiting for someone to love me. I am already someone worth loving." I stared at those words for a long time. They were simple, but they were true. A few days later, I found an old email from my university. They were offering a free class on small business planning. I signed up. Every Tuesday night, I joined the online lessons. I learned about rent, flower suppliers, marketing, and how to keep costs low. The words were new, but I was ready to learn. I wanted this for me. Mrs. Lee noticed. "You're glowing lately," she said one evening. "I have a dream again," I said. He hugged me. "Keep going." As I left the shop, I thought back to the years I spent chasing love. Giving everything to someone who gave nothing back. Staying silent when I should have spoken. Crying behind closed doors. I had loved Jason more than myself. But now I loved myself enough to let him go. That was my power. One day maybe I would fall in love again. Maybe I would meet someone who saw me, who listened, who gave back. But I was not waiting anymore. I had my own heart to care for now. And I was finally doing it right. 6 months later, everything looked different. I still lived in the same small apartment. I still walked the same streets. But inside me everything had changed. I had finished the business class. I had saved enough to rent a small space. And now I stood in front of a glass door with a new sign. Lily's Flowers. The letters were soft and simple. Just like me. Inside the room was quiet. It smelled like roses, eucalyptus, and lavender. The tables were clean. The flowers were fresh. The light came through the big window and touched every petal gently. I opened the shop one morning with slow hands and a full heart. The first customer was a young girl. She was buying one flower for her grandmother. I wrapped it with care and gave her a small smile. She smiled back and said, "This place feels warm." Those words stayed with me. Many people came that week. Some bought flowers. Some just looked. A few sat by the window and talked to me. They told me stories. Some were happy. Some were sad. I listened. I was not just selling flowers. I was giving people a place to feel something. And I felt something too. Peace. One afternoon a man walked in. I looked up and froze. It was Jason. He stood quietly holding the door. His hair was longer. His eyes were tired. "Hi, Lily," he said. My heart beat fast. I had not seen him in almost a year. "What are you doing here?" I asked softly. "I heard you opened a shop," he said. "I just wanted to see it." He looked around the room. His eyes stopped on the flowers. On the walls. On the small wooden table in the corner. "This place is beautiful," he said. "Thank you," I replied. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then he said, "I was wrong, Lily. About everything. About you. I didn't say anything. I didn't see how much you gave. I didn't see how much I hurt you. I thought you'd wait forever." I looked at him. He still looked familiar. But something was gone. The old feelings didn't come back. I felt no pain. No sadness. No need. Only calm. "I did wait," I said. "Too long." He nodded. "I'm sorry." I smiled a little. "I forgive you." He looked surprised. "But I don't need anything from you anymore," I said. "Not love. Not answers. Not even your sorry." He took a deep breath. "I understand." Then he walked out. And just like that, a heavy door inside me closed. I locked it gently. Quietly. Forever. That evening I sat by the shop window. The sun was setting. The flowers glowed in the orange light. Mrs. Lee stopped by to say hello. She brought me a cup of tea and said, "I'm proud of you." "Thank you," I said, "for everything." As she left, I looked at the list in my notebook. "Be happy alone." That was the last thing on it. And now it was true. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have fancy clothes or a big house. But I had peace. I had purpose. I had myself. And that was more than enough.